Okay, so in this chapter what we're going to do is we are going to work a little bit more on some medium scale props. These are going to be, in this case, scaffolding and cars, because I already happen to know, but also our streetlights, for example. Now, these props will just add some visual interest, mostly to our buildings, when we talk about, for example, the scaffolding, because right now, let's be honest, like everything feels still very flat. We just have flat building, flat building, flat building, here and there in canopy. But we need to break up that flatness to give us a more interesting picture to look at and to also give a better composition. Now what I had in mind, and when I say I had in mind, I mean that I already planned this, is to actually place some scaffolding over here that we can use. Now if you go into the Emil Sliegers folder, we actually have over here some scaffolding, and I have a lot of scaffolding pieces that we can use. Now these pieces, they will not be absolutely perfect, in terms of like how they all fit together, but they will be more than good enough. So what we can do is we can simply drag on the piece, rotate it 90 degrees, and for example move it over here, and then move this one a little bit up. So this is like the piece where you can kind of walk in. What I mean with that they would not be super logical is, for example, yeah, you walk in here, but everything is blocked off. It's like small stuff like that, where you kind of just want to remove one of these pieces. Normally I would remove these pieces if I would be working on like a very detailed environment, but in this case that would not be that logical, because you will not be able to really see that going on by the time that we are done with this. Now having this there, this means that I would need at least one prop next to it where you can actually walk. So what I can do is I can go ahead and drag in number 08 over here, and now we have this extra piece which we can nicely just place here. As you might notice, not all of them have legs. This is to make them modular. But what I can do is I can, for example, move these pieces here. And then what I can do is I can actually place some legs. This is again like one of those points where there will be some clipping going on, but you will never ever notice unless you are looking at it very closely. And I guess what you can do is, if you want, you can move this a little bit forward. The thing is that, yeah, then you have like this gap. So it's up to you what you would want, to have like a random gap, which I guess I know a way to fix it, or to just have some clipping. So let's for now go with the gap. I did not do this last time, by the way, in my prototype environment, because I just did not bother, to be honest. I'm going to go over here and set my pivot point to be in the world space. This makes it easy for me to just rotate my prop how I want, move it like this by selecting the center joints over here. And then what we can do is we can go ahead and select both of them and move them again. Like this. Now what I had in mind then maybe to fix this gap is that I have this single floor panel over here. And I guess what I can do is I can try to like just kind of plug it in here. No one will really notice that it's technically sort of more like floating. But like this, that would be like the only way that I can think of for like a proper transition with the assets that we have. So not counting me altering assets and all that kind of stuff. Now having this piece over here, what I can do is I can go ahead and I can select these with the feet, and we can also use this on the other side. Again, remember that I care about the pretty picture, not so much about the logic of having another scaffolding which completely blocks this area. So we got this one, and I will probably fix this in like a polishing phase. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one more. And that's probably where I'm going to end this piece over here. Now if you want, you can make your scaffolding go around the corner. The reason I'm not doing that is because there's simply not enough space. And over here you won't be able to see it, but also not enough space. So we now have these pieces. Now what I want to do is I want to try and get some height variation. You kind of want to see, so I want to almost go for like a, I don't know, something like a stair piece, something like one is really high, then it goes lower and lower. Almost like they are currently constructing the scaffolding. And also don't worry about like that there's empty space here. We can later on place floors and everything in here. So what I like to do is, let's say that I go up here and I grab this one, and you can like just move a bit closer. Let's make this the high version. But then also one thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that, for example, over here, so here we have like a stair piece. I want to see if I can make this somewhat logical. I do have these pieces over here. Sorry, this one over here. Which I guess that would probably be more logical to have something like this, almost like you need to climb on it. And then we have like a normal piece sitting over here. And it will also give us, again, like a little bit more interest. And then what I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to go ahead and maybe duplicate this one. And again, grab like a normal piece. Duplicate this one again. And then grab like, again, a big piece. And again, just need to see how high I want to go with this. Let's see. If I have this, if I go to my camera, definitely I need to like work a little bit more on my composition. But what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to go quite high actually. Yeah, let's go. And then at one point I will stop switching between those two pieces. So I will do this one, where we switch between this one. And after this I'm kind of just going to stop it. As if that it was just like, it's still being built. It doesn't have like the floor pieces. It's just like a big... I know that technically does not make a lot of sense, because you would always need to place in a floor piece before you can actually work on building the rest. But that's not what we are about right now. There we go. I quite like that. So we got this piece over here. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and we probably want to now create like one that is probably up until like this point or something like that. And what I can do is I can go ahead and I can duplicate this. This one does have like these little stair pieces, but often you would not notice. We can also see what it looks like if I, for example, change this around. No, that definitely does not look nice. In that case, what I'm going to do is let's duplicate this one and swap it out for just a 08 version over here. And then what I can do is I can go ahead and just stack this one up. And then maybe at this point, let's see. Now let's do one more. Let's grab this one. And then one more. And then for this one, I'm going to just go ahead and switch over to like a flat area. So it's quite nice that these kind of line up. Like they are not perfect, which will again give a little bit of interest. But they are lining up pretty closely. Now I would go ahead and duplicate this. And I would switch this one to a number 12 piece. And maybe it would be cool to then rotate this one 90 or what, sorry, 180, not 90. And we will need to kind of like move this in here, and it's up to you to kind of like guess here. Like if I do something like this, or maybe like a little bit higher, you often won't really notice the effect. Now definitely what we need to do is we need to add some more floor pieces here. And I probably want to do that now, because else I'm not completely sure how low my stair needs to be. So I have these floor pieces. I can go ahead and just 90 degrees. Move these over here. And this floor piece is actually a little bit too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scale this down a bit. Yeah, let's scale this. I don't know why my scaling is so, like, it never seems to scale lately exactly the way that I want it to. And I rather give the program default than give myself default for misclicking. But that's just how it goes. So what we can do is we can go ahead and create like a floor panel area over here. And what you can also do, if I see this, so we have clipping, it might be nicer if we just select these four. And if we then scale them. Now at this point I can show you a little trick. If you simply go to your modeling tools over here, you can create new meshes using this version or using this technique. I can select them. I can press mesh merge and then just make it a new object and call this one scaffolding floor piece combo, for example, something like that. And then what we can do is we can simply press accept. Now, if you want to keep things clean, quickly find your mesh and drag it into the correct folder, which in this case is the scaffolding and assets folder over here. I will nicely clean up this project before you guys get it. Don't worry about that. But now what we can do is we can, for example, give it like a little bit of scaling over here. And now it is just one solid piece. And that makes it a lot easier, as you might imagine, to just go ahead and quickly move these pieces over here. Like that. And I know there's like a little bit of clipping going on. No one's gonna notice. That's not what we are doing right now. So we have this floor piece over here. We have this floor piece over here. You kind of like need to climb up there. And maybe then it would be cool to also have like an area where, because there are floor pieces here where you need to like, or where you can like walk here. And just like that, you guessed it, we are just going to add a lot of visual interest. So we have those pieces. And just like that, you are able to actually edit these models inside of Unreal, so we can actually replace something. I will show you once how to do it here, and then later on I will just do this during the polishing phase, because it's not worth my time right now. You kind of like need to pick your battles. But if you have this mesh, you cannot just press edit poly. If you do edit poly, it will read as one massive chunk of mesh. Instead, what you need to do is you first of all, just so press cancel, you first of all need to generate poly groups. It's pretty much the same as in ZBrush. You want to go down and you want to find your... where are you? Over here. Group. Well, this one is paint. You want to have to generate one. Generate new poly groups. And then you can say, I want to generate it from connected tris, most likely. And that will generate basically every element will become a poly group. That's the easiest one for this. So if something is connected, it will become one poly group. Next, what we can do is we can go ahead and press accept over here. And now it should already have these poly groups. So you can see that we are actually editing the original model. Remember, we do not want to do that. So what we will do is we will go ahead and we will add a mesh duplicate on this. Call this scaffolding 07 underscore V2, for example, and press accept. And now if you quickly go in here, once again, you can drag this out, place this into correct folder, there you go. Now that it is its own model, we can go to our poly edit, and we can go ahead and we can select this, and we should be able to select the entire mesh, and simply press delete. Just like that. And then we can, for example, keep this one to add a little bit more structure to things. But that is the general gist for this. So now we have this empty space. And what I can do is if I also delete it over here, for example. And just make sure that there's no strange leftovers. No, that should be fine. Oh yeah, here's one. There we go. If I do this on both sides and press apply. Now that we have these open spaces, you are able to also place these open spaces, for example, in other areas. I guess over here it is not too logical, but you get the idea. Like you can now also later on, if we duplicate this, we can also have the open space on this side. That's basically what I was trying to show you for very little extra work. So that already adds quite a bit. As you can see, just having that one extra opening and that one extra bit of detail does add a bit. But for now, I want to just go ahead and continue on to like the bigger picture. So we have those. I want to grab one of these pieces, and you will need to have a large piece sitting on top of this, because else it would not be too logical. So we can go ahead and move this one down over here, and I don't know, do I want to make this maybe a little bit higher? Yeah, you know what, let's make this a bit higher. I think that will look a bit more interesting, instead of just doing like the classic stair thing. So let's go over here. So we have like a walkway, and then I'm going to make it one more, like this. Here we go. And next what I will do is I will do one more, but maybe I'm gonna go for like a short version like this. Like they are currently constructing this area. So it's like a little bit of storytelling along with the rest. There we go, that looks pretty interesting. And now what we can do is we have this one, for which I can probably just go ahead and do a simple duplicate. And I don't know, let's do one more version that's just like a version with like some flooring. Over here. There we go. Doesn't have to be too special. But now, if we go to our camera, we should have, as you can see, a lot more visual interest. That immediately like it grabs the eye, and if we just go ahead and work a bit with our lighting, it will add quite a bit of interest to our scene. Now at this point I can have a look. So we go up here. You kind of like need to or climb there, or you need to walk here. And then this one is floating, is it? Yes, it is floating, which means that I quickly need to grab, oops, all these pieces, and then I'm just gonna hold Control and click on this one twice so that I can move this down, because I don't really want to have the stair floating. I know the stair technically is floating a little bit, but that's not as bad as having the entire stair floating, because that's the thing, we kind of rely on having so much going on here that you don't really notice those really small areas. Only we notice because we know about it. So you have your stair, and you kind of like want to go up here. If you want, you can then like, let's see. We have like these pieces over here, which I guess we can sandwich in between some of these areas. As long as we don't think too much about it. Because technically you can see that there's like a size difference, or like a movement difference. But okay, so you can kind of like climb up here, then you can climb up there. And we just in general, we have like a few of these pieces. Maybe for this one we can like switch this out to like a stair piece again. And yeah, let's do a stair piece, and then we can grab one of these versions and kind of just like stick these in here. Oh, that's interesting. Why does my stair piece not have anything for me to hold? Oh, it's because it's over there. I need to move these down. And then I have my stair piece over here. Luckily this is not too high, so what I can do is I can just quickly move this entire stair piece also down a little bit. Just like that. Okay, cool. So that works pretty well with our scaffolding. If you want, there are still some areas where you can maybe sandwich another piece in between, but I don't really see any good transitions. Yeah, maybe like all the way up here. There's like one. Oh no, actually this transition also does not really work. So I rather just leave it out. I don't want to just ruin what we have right now. But that is all looking pretty good. We got these pieces over here. Maybe what I will do is I will do one last piece at the top that will have a walkway on it. And we can kind of just place this. So we have this piece, and now if we go ahead and go to our camera actor, I will, later on what I will do is I will place the cars, and then we are going to go for like a better angle. But one thing I do notice is that I want to have the scaffolding on one more area. Now this area will have later on like our billboards and our lighting. We don't really want that. This area is a bit too far away and it's not really a lot of space. And honestly, my eyes are drawn towards this area over here, because the building is sticking out a little bit more. And it feels like a place where we can just have like a few scaffolding pieces. What I will do is I will simply reuse. Because why would we spend a lot of time placing it when we already placed it before? And let's just go ahead and leave it probably at something like this. So let's go ahead and duplicate these pieces. Move them over here. Rotate them like 180, like that. And have these pieces like nicely sitting against this area. Oh, and I forgot to add some of the feet. That's unfortunate. And then this top one, what I want to do is I just want to turn this into like a normal scaffolding. And this is like the point where people can step on the building and work and stuff like that. And of course, if you want, I guess this is still close enough to the camera that we should really do this. Where we just kind of like add some little feet. The only thing that you can do if you want to save a little bit of time is to just not rotate them. So for example, these are close enough that we need to have them for our camera. But what we can do is we can simply duplicate them and not go about rotating and adjusting them and stuff like that. And that would save you, I don't know, a couple minutes probably. I'm not really doing it to save a couple minutes. I'm doing it because, or I'm not doing it because I don't want to bore you with me rotating some legs for 1 or 2 minutes long. So we have this one over here. See, that already adds like, again, a little bit more interest. So that is currently it for scaffolding. Now what I want to do is I want to start working on our cars. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and delete these template cars that we have. And for our cars, because there isn't really a lot of reference that we have over here, you can see the reference. It's quite nice to have a few cars that are parked, but I want to almost have like a still ref. I can have a look at, for example, our original version. And here what you can see what I did is I went ahead and I went for some parked cars, but then a lot of the cars, they are almost like in motion. It's like a picture of them when they were in motion, but without a motion blur maybe. And that's something that I kind of like want to also capture for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we have our city sample vehicles over here. And these are pretty much all of the cars that we have and that we can use. And I spent quite a bit of time, I can remember on the previous version, just making sure that every car looks really nice and is like perfectly placed for its type and stuff like that. Because of that, I'm just going to kind of like cheat and I'm going to just have a look at my original version to see which car I used where to kind of like match them up. But you can just have fun, and if you want, you don't have to match it up exactly with me and stuff like that. Oh, I can see. I thought I saw like a seam. Okay, never mind. For a moment there I thought I saw a seam, but I guess not. What I'm also going to do is I'm also going to turn these curbs into ramps. This one and this one. And then I'm going to select this stuff. Move it a bit further back. There we go. And then if you want, we can also go ahead and we can select this one. Turn on our snapping. And already add just like a little bit of extra road here. So, okay. Let's go into our car. So what we can do is we have, for example, let's say that we have this van over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to roughly place my camera where I want it to be, like later on, which is roughly around here probably. So knowing that, I want to have one of the cars and I'm just going to kind of like have it here. What I like to do is I like to turn off my snapping for my rotation and give it like some random rotation, because cars would never be perfectly 90 degrees and then set and everything. Next, what I want to do is I want to probably go ahead and go for some cars that we can use. Let's see. Let's say that we have like one car that is sitting here. And these cars are... Oh, sorry. Don't know what happened. Basically, these cars, they are waiting for people or to cross or something like that. I want to also have like a taxi sitting in front of it. The reason I want to do a taxi, sometimes, you can sometimes see me specifically using taxis, or you can see me using police cars. It's because it adds a splash of color. I'm also going to turn off my snapping by this point. So we have like these two cars, and they're kind of like waiting here. Now, next I want to have some cars that are being parked, or that are parked. So what I can do is I can go ahead and you can see here there's like quite a few options. Let's go in for like a normal option over here. And mind you that I'm not exactly using the same cars per se that I am using in my other reference. I'm more just, because of course our streets have changed a bit. It's more that I'm just using the same locations. Because I like did a lot of prototyping and I spent like half an hour just looking at like nice locations for cars. So you can see me simply here using the move and rotate tools to kind of like get the cars that I want. And for example over here you notice that in my original version the street was a bit longer. So now I'm going to just divert a little bit and I'm going to just have like 2 cars here instead of 3. And based upon that we can just keep going and going until we get something interesting. Let's say that we grab like a pretty normal or average looking car. And that car is kind of like sitting on the curb here. So we want to like kind of rotate it as if that it drove on the curb. And then it is, of course, a little bit rotated like this so that the wheels are fitting. And yeah, just like that. It's like a bad parking job. Everyone will hate this guy for not leaving enough space for people to, of course, walk here and stuff. Next, what we can do is we can go ahead and we can go, for example, for another taxi to add some more color. Let's place it somewhere here. And I like to almost have it like these cars. They have just rotated out of like the street. That's kind of like what I'm trying to do. Sometimes you will see me also just switching back to my camera view over here. So here, see, so this car is like nicely rotated around the street. And then maybe have like another one of those sports cars, this one. And have this one kind of rotating also with it, as you can see. And you can choose if you want to have this like one lane traffic or something like that. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to sometimes just go to my camera actor. I just see like I'm going to give it a little bit of a rotation. But I'm probably just going to leave it like this. Now, next what I want to do is I want to go probably for like a, not a truck, but like a, here, like a trash thing. And I know that it's funny because it's like so big. And that's why I kind of like it, to have like such a large car just kind of sitting in this area. But it's just doing its job. So what we can do is we can go to our camera actor, maybe push it back a bit that you can just see this car also sitting over here. It kind of depends which side of the world you are on. If you are, for example, in the UK or I believe also Australia, you would urge to have this one on the left side and these ones turned around on the right side. I have actually lived in both countries where they both drive left and right. However, currently I live in a country where we drive on the right, which means that maybe for this one it would be a bit more logical to have my truck like that. I don't know if it is really nice, else we can always just make an exception. But for now, let's just go ahead and go for something like that. And you can already see that just those few cars already start to bring more life to our scene. I'm going to move this one a bit forward. And later on, I will, of course, tweak everything a little bit, make it a bit more interesting and stuff like that. Now, this is an actual intersection. I would not expect there to be parked cars on an intersection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, let's have like a classic car. And the colors we will do at the very end. Because the annoying thing about these cars, when you change the color, for example to red, as soon as you move it, it swaps back to the original. That's why you don't see me changing colors right now. So what I can do is, I don't really want to have too many cars rotating and stuff like that. So I'm just going to have like one extra car, just kind of like sitting here and just minding its own business, driving and stuff. And then over here I want to have like a delivery truck. Let's see. There we go. Here we go. Like a delivery truck in front of like a big commercial building. I think that looks quite cool. Although this, I think, because these are from the Matrix demo, this is actually like a bank truck. But it does not, it honestly does not matter. We can just have something here. And then let's go ahead and do like a, let's do like a one of those. And I'm just gonna have this one like just beyond this point. And maybe have it that it's starting to rotate because it wants to adjust its rotation to not go as close to the center line. This stuff you will mostly understand if you're actually driving yourself. Else it might be a little bit silly, the type of rules that I make for myself. But what I can do is I can then have like another like car here. Because for example this area of course is again too long. So that's like the fun thing. Like the previous area it was like too short. This area is a little bit too long. So what we can do is we can just keep playing around with things, and let's say that I have another car over here that's like a little bit parked. Something like this, for example. And let's see. So at this point, you can go ahead and you can also have a look at some other packs. For example, I have another pack from Decagon. And this pack, I'm not planning to use it. But it, for example, it has like some basic road construction. You can literally just, again, on the marketplace, just go to Decagon. And you can, for example, get like some of these road barriers. And maybe something like that would be nice to add a little bit later on, for example. Just to have like something interesting here. I can remember that over here, like I just added one of these large signs that you can see over here. But I'm not going to do that because I don't want to introduce so many random packs that you need to download in order to use. That doesn't sound very nice. So let's see. We have, if we go to our camera angle. Okay, so over here we have like a pretty decent amount of traffic. To be honest, we have too much. I don't like it when I cannot see anything anymore. Like over here, I like that we have like a little gap. However, what I can also see is that it looks like that my original camera, it's more like in this direction. Over here. Which, yeah, that is fine. I just need to have a think about this. So, we will have like a taxi car sitting over here. And at this point, I'm going to go far away from like my reference and stuff like that. I want to go ahead and have another car to turn. Let's use like one of these cars that are kind of like just sitting here. So that when we have our camera, you can just... Oh, that's too much. Let's move this forward a little bit. There we go. You can just see like a car moving around and stuff like that. And what I will also do is later on I will once again go to window and split my viewport. And then I will adjust things a bit more. So I did not really like over here what was going on. I feel like that maybe this truck, if we just move this to this side, over here, that might be a little bit better. And then all the way over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a bus. So that will pretty much take up the entire lane. But then we will also have like a bus stop or something like that. Now, over here to this side. So there is a truck here. So what if we again go for like a... Here, let's go for like a taxi over here. And can we see it from my camera actor? Okay, nice. So we can just see like the taxi. We have over here, we have this, yeah, this car. Let's move it maybe like a little bit forward. And then over here, I just want to have like some empty space to give it like a little bit of room to breathe, almost, so to speak. And if we go for maybe like let's go for like a police car. I don't want to use these too often because you won't often see them in most cities. There are plenty of them, but to see more than one in a single street, just coincidentally, that often feels a bit strange. So we can do that, and then we can grab, for example, here, let's grab like a nice average car. No idea why it's floating in the air, but okay. Let's do this. So here we have like a nice average car being parked against it. And then I want to have something else behind it also. I want to have this one quite fully parked. So that there are like just quite a bit of parked cars here. So another one like this. And maybe we have like something really basic still. Let's do like a van. And this van is kind of parked illegally because you are not allowed to park right on a corner, since that will actually give a dead zone. You can literally see it even in 3D. That the car that comes over here, it's not able to properly see where all the other cars are. But that's no problem for us, because we are not sticking to the rules. So we got this car over here. I like that there's some space here. Like you can kind of like your eyes can guide through the spaces. And then over here, what if I move this one a little bit forward? How does that look? I know it's a little bit strange to have a car parked on an intersection, but I feel like that does read a bit better. it does read a bit better if we have this car a little bit forward. And it feels nicer to the eyes. It's a bit difficult to explain, but it's like a bulky object. So when you look at this, you are looking at mostly later on like the neon sights, and then your eyes can kind of like drawn to those areas over here. There we go. Okay, so we have this one over here. That is nice. Now over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move this one probably a little bit forward. Let's have a look that I don't move it too much. No, I don't think I need to. Let's do this. Let's move this taxi a little bit back, like it's starting to move. And then I want to have like another truck or something. One of these. And hopefully that will break up our line of sight a little bit. Yeah, see? So that will break up our line of sight. Now, I do want to have the bus still a bit visible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this, where the bus just pulled away from like a bus station. So I will place like a bus station here. The bus has just started to rotate around, which, as you can see over here, yeah, that breaks a line of sight again a little bit more towards the back. Now, lastly, I will place probably like 1 or 2 parked cars here. Although there's an entrance here, so they probably would not like it if you park your car. Let's do 1 car. 1 car is just like nicely parked here. And you know what, this one I'm going to park not on the curb. I'm going to park this one right next to it. Like this person did not care to take up a lot of the street over here. And then finally what we are going to do is we are going to work on like a really large one, which is your truck. And your truck will be sitting here. And it will have a large trailer attached to it. And this trailer, mind that when you rotate, the trailer does not look like this. Trailers, they rotate on an axis in your truck, so they kind of like are still straight while you're rotating, and only later on they start to kind of like bend. There you go, see? So we get this nice balance between having some large cars break up the line of sight, but then in between here we can still have a look at things. Now at this point what I will do, I know that this is quite a long chapter, I do apologize for that. I'm going to save my scene. And now I'm going to go to Window, Viewport, create another viewport. And this one is going to become like my camera view over here. And yeah, I do want to make a little bit more, some more adjustments. I'm going to start by first of all getting a better idea of my camera angle. This should not take too long, but it is something that is quite important for us to do now. So first of all, let's try and just find my camera actor. I will clean up my scene in the next chapter. Okay, camera actor. 1080p, 60. What if we go like really... What if we go really wide? No, if we go really wide, we won't be able to see most of our skyline. What if we go a little bit further down? 70. I don't know, with 70... It almost feels like our environment feels a little bit less impressive. I think 65. Let's have a look. If I go 65 and then move this one over here. And let's maybe move this up a little bit. The cars feel so small right away. But yeah, if I do 60, I cut out a bit. Like, that's a tricky thing. With a field of view of 60, I like the scale of the cars, but I'm cutting out a little bit of my environment. And it's a piece that I don't want to cut out. So maybe if I do... I'm just trying to kind of like get the right angle. I think... Let's go for an angle roughly something like this. And then I would probably want to like scale up this building a bit more. And maybe also scale up... Let's also scale up this one over here. And move this one a little bit further back. I think then it will work. If I go ahead and just move this a little bit further back like this. I think now it will work. And I will have my camera view over here. So the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm simply going to, oh, that's fast. Let's use my scroll wheel to lower down. Now I'm going to use my camera view to basically move some cars closer or further away in order to give it a little bit more visual interest. And sometimes you see me like moving like this. It's a bit tricky for me to show you because I'm looking on my other screen. I'm looking at my camera. And while I'm doing that, I'm simply moving some cars around to see if I can get like a little bit more of like an interesting position. Because that's the nice thing of 3D compared to real life. When you take pictures or something, I can choose exactly where I want my cars to be. For example, I feel like that this car, if it's going to be like a nice red car, I want to have it a little bit more visible. So that's why I want to just move my taxi around and then move this one a little bit further. Next we have a truck over here. Yeah, a truck is actually fine. This car. Maybe rotate this car a little bit. But if I rotate this one, I'm also rotating this. It's not nice to have two cars that are pointing the exact same direction. So then you want to kind of like rotate this one further back. And then move it out. Yeah, that works a little bit better. Now next, for example, we have this car over here. And let's say that I want to add one more, just like quite a large car, something like this. Let's add one more car. That's kind of just parked here. And maybe I will not park it on the curb, but just kind of have it, because there's a lot of space here, just kind of have it like towards the side. I don't like it towards the side because I can no longer see the car behind it. And just like that, I'm making small adjustments. Just some small adjustments. So now I just decided that, okay, fair enough, then I will place it on the curb, because else it does not work for the composition I want. Now we have this car over here. I feel like that this car is probably a little bit too big. I think I'm just going to go for like a smaller car over here, because we already have like a lot of really large pieces. So let's do this one. And then maybe we can use the truck somewhere else. I don't know exactly where I would use it. Maybe I can use the truck to just show like the behind of the truck. Beyond this point. Yeah, let's do that. No, wait, actually, because then I'm blocking off my taxi. Which, by the way, I can no longer see my taxi at all. So I might want to just move my taxi forward a little bit to just see like the nose of the taxi. And then maybe I will just use my truck over here. By this point, we technically have our field of view being blocked by this car. So if I just maybe like... No, I actually like the position of it. Then we will just have a truck here in case we have like a large, like a more top-down view. Then you can still see the truck. So that's always nice to also be prepared for that. So we have our truck here. Next what I will do is I will go ahead and I will maybe like place one basic car over here. Yeah, there we go. Just have something here for later on. And I think for now that's pretty good. Yeah, I think we got something pretty decent. If I go ahead and go to my camera, I like that. It has a lot of life, and it actually looks quite similar to what I achieved in this shot over here. Now, of course, the big difference is that on this shot I spent around 60 hours, of course, also along with the modeling, but I had a lot more time to just carefully put everything together. And I highly recommend that you do that too. Like in the tutorial, everything goes a little bit faster to teach you as much stuff as possible. So that also means like the tiniest details, they or come a little bit later, or we kind of like leave those behind. But this is looking good. Let's go ahead and go on to the next chapter, where we will just continue with some more medium scale assets like our street lights and our parking lights and stuff like that. And also the cables that will be hanging across this area over here. So yeah, let's go ahead and continue with this in the next chapter.